So this little calculation here should be pretty well known to you by now. If you don't know, it's when you hear, oh, they used this experiment in the past, and Pythagoras, and for thousands of years they knew the Earth was a circle or round, and what they mean is spherical. And it's basic trigonometry, and don't you know? Well, you dig some wells, and then you get the time of day and the sun's overhead, and then you measure the angle from another location at the same time, and bada boom, bada bing, you've got a calculation. And if you claim to know the diameter of the Earth, and you assume the sphericity of it, then the calculation could be made, and it ranges wildly from 4 million to 150 million miles away is the sun. But if you assume flatness, then you get the number shown here. However, when they show that and have it represent the dome, yeah, it looks like a dome, but it's not a dome that would cover the Earth, because the Earth's diameter is way more than just this number that they get. And it's curious that the supposed radius of the Earth is equal to approximately the calculation you get of the distance to the sun if you assume no refraction in a flat surface. But of course, you know what I think, that there is a lot more going on, and so you're not going to get the position of the sun, because when you look and you see the sun in the sky, you're not looking at the sun. You're not. You're looking at your local atmosphere, where the sun is striking the air, or the barrier. And the barrier can be flat and at a very much lower altitude than the top of the dome. You know what I mean? There's a thickness to it. And if you think of like a dome-shaped lens, where the bottom part, you could have it be perfectly flat. It would still function as a lens, but it works a little better if you have a slightly concave bottom of a glass dome lens, where the top is, of course, convex. And it could be convex to the point of being a hemisphere, and we have no reason to think that it wouldn't be, nor do we have any reason to think that it would be a perfect hemisphere top. What do I think it is? I think it's a positive external focus length convex meniscus lens made of something like fused silica or fused quartz, which would pass the wavelengths of light and everything appropriately according to what we observe. I believe it's a concave, like if you go outside and look up, you're going to see the bottom of a concave lens, if you could see it, if you could look that far, whatever. And then if you would somehow go through the surface of the firmament, however thick that is, and then go higher into the, I don't know what it is, upper heavens or whatever, and you look down at the party, at the footstool of God, whatever it is down here, and you're going to see a convex bubble surface, coming up. So the thickness could be astounding. I don't know. It's all speculation, of course, except, well, not all of it. We do have a record, and we do have some evidence, and we do have some logical deductions we can make. But as far as the firmament, I think that it would make sense. Sometimes I think that it could be just that the air thins out as you go higher in altitude, but it's hard for me to put my finger on it. But it's for quite a few small reasons together that I believe that there is a barrier that is not so high up, and that it's not just a huge vast empty space, even though it doesn't compare at all to the model that they have of billions and trillions and quadrillions and zentillions and of miles. But 4,000 miles still seems like a lot to me. I think we could talk about it in terms of feet, like 120,000 feet, or maybe somewhere around there, 140,000 or 110,000 or something like that, I think is where a barrier exists. One of the reasons I think that is that it would make sense to have a barrier that keeps the air compressed down to some degree, so that, number one, it would explain if we do send up balloons and such that actually strike the dome, that would have to be the case, right? Because you have to have air pressure for any balloon to rise. But the videos of the balloons supposedly striking the dome are not completely convincing. We need more data. It may just be that they popped from the lower air pressure. It seems like you could put a valve on there that would prevent that, so that at least the balloons would reach some kind of a maximum altitude that they could reach before they would reach neutral buoyancy. Now, you have those videos of the rockets flying up and de-spinning, right? Or hitting the dome. Now, they say it's the de-spinning, and that would make sense, and it may be the de-spinning that you're seeing happen, but I have a couple questions about it. Number one, the rocket de-spins before it fires off the first stage, but the second stage doesn't ignite, ever. Why? I don't know. It seems like it's because it crashed or malfunctioned, but why would it do that every time? And why don't the people who did the rockets talk much about it? It doesn't, there's something with that that's just off, the civilian rockets. There's something off. Then on another one, it seems to hit something. There seems to be debris, and in one of them they talk about the object that falls down after it, quote, de-spins, and they don't know what it is. There's some balloon videos where the balloon pops or whatnot, and the camera rolls around and it points upwards, and the gas from the balloon, from the inside of the balloon, is visible because it's illuminated by the sun. It goes up, right? But then it spreads out. So it's as if it goes up and hits an invisible barrier, or, you know, like a almost like a mirror or a window pane or something, and then it forms like a donut shape that's growing larger, like a smoke ring kind of. And I can blow smoke rings like nobody's business, you know. And if I blow a smoke ring and hit a wall, and it just hits the wall and it expands wider. I don't smoke, by the way. Don't comment saying you shouldn't smoke. Smoking is bad for you, don't you know? I smoked for a while, just a little bit. I don't smoke now, so. But I can. It's like riding a bicycle. You know, I haven't forgotten how to blow smoke rings. I can blow smoke rings practically like Gandalf the Wizard, except I can't do the sailing ship. All right, I can't do that. Nobody can. But I can blow the smoke rings pretty dang good. So anyway, there's more study that needs to be done. Now, where was I going with this? Well, I'm segueing into Antarctica. And we know it's a big secret down there. You can't go south of the 60th parallel in the southern hemisphere. There isn't much of anything known from mankind or about mankind south of the 60th parallel. None of it makes sense. The weather doesn't make sense. There's no population down there. It should be analogous to the northern latitudes, but it's not in any way. Now, if you go north of 88 degrees latitude, it gets similarly sketchy, right? But in the south, it's a huge area. And one of the reasons may be that the dome is nearer down there. And judging from some meteorological, and I hate that word, but basically weather information about the atmosphere, which is another word I hate, atmosphere, it's not atmosphere. They've really corrupted our language. But the air above the flat Earth, it seems that the clouds, everything kind of compressed down in southern latitudes, but also in northern latitudes. Clouds do not reach the heights that they do, say, in the tropics. If you go extremely far north or extremely far south. So that's also interesting. What does it mean? Well, I don't know exactly, but all these different things kind of together suggests to me that there is a barrier a lot closer. The NASA rockets flying sideways so soon is another suggestion that they really can't risk going anything close to straight up because you don't go very far, you hit something, you come straight back down, it would be a disaster. It's like walking backwards into a fan. It's a disaster. Well, that civilian rocket team, they shot a rocket straight up. In one of the videos I watched, they had early on, they shot something up, and I'm not sure that it hit anything, but it's an example of what would happen if it did, because it went up and then it came straight back down. I mean, straight back down, that the guys were running around, the parachute's deployed and everything, but if something weighs 800 pounds and it's coming down, it's got the parachute deployed, you still don't want to be under it. And they're scrambling around because this stuff, it went up, it came straight back down, practically hit the launch pad, In the book, Zetetic Astronomy of Earth on the Globe, he talks about experiments where they shot a rifle straight up. They perfectly leveled and plumbed the barrel of a rifle, and they would shoot I think like a musket ball even. It wasn't even a rifled bullet, I don't think. But it went straight up, and then it went so much straight back down that in some cases it landed and re-entered the barrel. All right, so the video you see now is one that I did of Antarctica, and they're hiding stuff there. Just so you know, there are several locations of ceremonial South Poles. I think they give the impression on purpose that they have a base at the geographic South Pole, and one of them is designated as such, the Amundsen Scott Station. However, even that one, I think, is admittedly on their part not located at the geographic South Pole. Of course, there's no structure or building in Google Earth at the geographic South Pole. It's just basically an anomaly or stitching artifact. But if you believe, because I've been told in comments, UAP, you dumb, you so dumb, do not procreate. Well, no, they don't say it that sophisticated. God, I hope you don't breed. You're so stupid, don't you know that there are satellites flying around and they take pictures of everything? Okay, fine. Let's imagine that it does. Wouldn't the pictures be equally taken? Like, the satellite would take the same picture of any part of the Earth equally as it flew over, because it's digital, right? And it just downloads it, right, via some kind of Wi-Fi type thing. So you look at certain areas and there's more detail, like if it's a geographic structure, like the Schermacher ponds or whatever, all of a sudden it gets a little bit more detailed. And then there are areas that are just so vague and sketchy, and data is missing, and it just seems like it's just an auto-spawned area from a video game or something. Why would there be these dichotomies? Well, let's ask Don Pettit, right? He's flown over the Earth and taken videos and such, right? With time lapses that have lightning strikes that last like 16 frames long, where each picture is taken every 30 seconds or 2 minutes or something like that. That's one hell of a long lightning strike. It's just so full of nonsense. So Antarctica, I'll finish this video with my final point, and that is that not only is there a treaty and they have all these secrets and everything like that, but when they did have to build things up and kind of get the lie straight, after the Antarctic Treaty, there were a few decades after that where they were kind of constructing and increasing activity over there before it kind of settled down to where it is today. It seems pretty steady. They had to have a lot of workers down there, you know what I mean? Like a lot of like the World War II vets and these types of people had to go down there and do a lot of the work. Well, how do they keep them all quiet? Well, that's the thing with one of these conspiracy theories, that people assume that when you have a conspiracy that everybody knows about it, and then B, that they all voluntarily agree to keep quiet. And that they would have to do that, right? So that's unlikely, and so that makes the whole conspiracy pretty much impossible in their minds. However, if you've worked at a company, it doesn't have to be a large company, it could be a smaller company, still doesn't matter. The top, let's say, the top person or the top 2 or 3 people and their lawyers, the legal team, do they not know a lot more of what's going on than you did if you weren't one of them? Or if you became one of them, then, like I did, before, back when I worked regular jobs, if you became somebody of that level, did you not become privy to a whole bunch of stuff that you had no idea about? No idea about. And it seems obvious in some ways after they explain to you, oh, well, like, the former CEO was screwing around with the secretary, and then she threatened a lawsuit, so that's why, they gave her this cush job or whatever. And, that explains all that, And he ended up hating her, but he couldn't fire her, blah, 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 because of the harassment, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But, since you're, you got to know about this, so, okay, fine. Well, it's kind of the same way with the government, and however, when they were building it, there were too many people kind of in the know. They didn't have their little tricks, like the cell phone towers that they set up there have the local time a little bit tweaked, I believe. Just little tricksy things like that. GPS comes from the cell phone towers, so if they want you to think you're in a different location than you are, they can tweak that GPS so that people learn to trust their cell phones. They go there, they look at their cell phone, oh, that's the time, and according to GPS, this is my location, because the cell phone towers don't lie. Well, they just put out the data that they get in, and we already know they do that. They did that to try to prove the relativity equation via the exact atomic date of the cell phone towers via this algorithm that somebody discovered or uncovered that had been programmed in. So it was just a creation of someone's programming skills, not evidence of Einstein being right, because Einstein wasn't right about just about anything. I mean, one of the highest scientists has one of the worst track records as far as doing anything of value. How many times have you used equals mc squared? And that's not even Einstein's anyway. But I've covered that. So let's take a look and see what happens. What happens to all these people who go and work in Antarctica and could probably answer questions about what is going on down there for real? Let's see, where are they now?
It was called Operation Deep Freeze, and tonight a 5 on Your Side investigation reveals it may have exposed thousands to radiation.
What did an estimated 15,000 share in common that's now suspected of slowly poisoning them with radiation? And our investigation found others across the country, all Navy veterans who either died or are fighting cancer, and all shared one thing. They all served at McMurdo Station, a U.S. Navy base in Antarctica, and it was powered by this, a portable nuclear plant.
At one time, I heard the siren. Something happened up there, but we weren't made aware of it.
In fact, we found 438 malfunctions from 1964 through 1972. The Navy's final operating report